So I had a dealer who had reached out to me who had went to prison or whatever and was like, hey, just letting you know I'm good now. And I was like, oh, I'm sober. I'm not doing anything. So I'm good. I have one bad day and I'm calling him and I'm like, you still got that stuff? I find the pipe at my brother's house. So I spend the entire weekend smoking crack. Call my counselor who got me the job at the sober living place that I was working at. And I tell her what happened. And my brother's like, listen, I told you if you used, you can't be in my house. And I'm like, found the pipe in your house.
Yeah, it's your fucking pipe.
Like, it was, I mean, it was clean. It wasn't a used pipe, but still, like, why do you have it if, you're not doing something? So my brother kicks me out. The counselor lets me come and stay with her. Now, mind you, she was just my counselor 6 months before that. God. So it's an ethical thing that she's letting me stay with her. So I go and I stay there and I'm...
Does she get in trouble for that?
Well, we'll get there.
Yeah.
So, I stay with her maybe 3 weeks. I'm smoking crack in her house. My son is with me.
Oh my God.
In her house, yeah.
We're back for another episode of Get a Grip podcast. We have Ashley Arick with us, who I met at a community event the other night surrounding recovery, which was wonderful. And I'll let you tell them about that. But I asked her if she would come on, and without question, she said yes. And so here you are. Thank you for coming.
Of course. Much
appreciated. You want to tell our viewers what you do and kind of what your organization does, just so they're aware?
So I work for the Hope Dealer Community, the Hope Resource Center. We have 2 locations. It's a drop-in center for people that are still actively using, homeless due to their addiction. We provide hot meals, sack lunches, Narcan, fentanyl test strips. We have free medical care. We have connections with the Public Defender's Office for people that are in the justice system. If they have warrants, they're able to help pull those for us. We have the legal aid comes out, Job and Family Services comes out. So kind of like any kind of resources that you may need. Our biggest thing is our connections to treatment. We have same day access to detox, to sober living. On the Hilltop is kind of like the place to go. If you're ready to get sober, people know, come to the Hope Resource Center and we're going to get you in somewhere. What's a little bit different about us is that we stay connected to people the entire time. Like I know when I was out on the streets, like I got to the point where my family didn't want anything to do with me. Nobody wanted to help me.
No one left.
No, yeah. I've burned every bridge.
Yep.
And so we stay connected to people. The facilities that we work with, like for detox, because we don't have our own, it's just a nonprofit organization. We stay in contact with them. We have one of our detox facilities that actually bring people to our weekly Wednesday night meeting. But I am in contact with anybody that's in detox every week, asking them, like, do you need anything? Like, how can we help support you? We help with, like, hygiene items. We were helping with cigarettes as well. And then once they get to sober living, we want to invite everybody back to our meetings. So we have an AA meeting, an NA meeting, and then our Wednesday night Hope Gathering meeting. Just a few weeks ago, we had over 200 people there. We provide transportation, 3 vans. We have a women's step group that meets on Zoom on Saturdays. There's a Sunday morning church service. We do a hangout event once a month. Last Saturday, we just did for overdose awareness. We had a cookout at Rhodes Park, released balloons for people we've lost in addiction. So it's just...
You guys are boots on the ground.
Yeah.
Straight up.
Yeah.
Like...
Right in the middle of it, yep.
It's awesome. And you were born and raised here in Columbus?
Yep, on the west side.
So let's start at childhood. How was your upbringing? How did that mold you into the human you are today?
Well, all the way up through elementary school, like life was good. I have an older brother. My parents, as far as I knew, they didn't really fight. They didn't really have any kind of issues in the house. Like later on, I like realized that like my brother had protected me from a lot of things. Like if mom and dad were fighting, like he was taking me upstairs to my room to,
so
go play with my dollhouse. Yeah. So my brother protected me from a lot of things growing up. My grandparents, my grandpa was a preacher. So it was, we went to church every Sunday. It was always a family event every week at my dad's mom's house. When I was 9 years old, I remember my mom asking me to help pack up my dad's clothes. My dad had went to stay at his mom's house, and I didn't have any idea what was going on. I thought dad was just, going to help grandma and grandpa. So she had me help pack up my dad's clothes, and we went over and dropped them off on the front porch of my grandma's house. We were supposed to go to Florida. My grandparents went to Florida for 6 months out of the year when they got older. And so we were supposed to go to Florida, the whole family, and my mom decided not to go. There was a guy that was staying in the house. She told me it was her neighbor's brother that didn't have a place to stay.
Oh, boy.
And so I'm 9 years old. Like, me and my dad and my brother fly down to Florida with my grandparents, and they stay in, like, a retirement park. It's, trailer park.
Yeah.
And my brother runs away from the grocery store that we go to. And so when he finally comes back, I'm like, why did you run away? And he's like, I don't want to be here. He's like, Mom and Dad are getting divorced. And I'm like, you don't know what you're talking about. And he's like, yeah, that guy at the house, that's Mom's boyfriend. And I'm like, no, that's, Julie's brother. He's just staying there because he don't have a place to stay. And I was like, so oblivious that
I was afraid of that.
yeah, anything was ever wrong. But I mean, he was right. So when we got home, my mom had told me they were filing for divorce, and that my dad wasn't going to be coming back. So my first stepdad, Dave, that's who was at the house. He had already moved in. I found out later, like, my mom and him had an affair like years before that, and so this was like an ongoing thing for like some time.
Damn.
Yeah, my dad had he's manic bipolar, so you go through real high ups and downs. When my parents first got divorced, like, my dad did everything he could to, try to see his kids. My brother and my dad always had like some estranged relationship. They didn't really talk. They didn't really get along much. I remember my dad picking me up and taking me to Wyandotte Lake, every other weekend, and I would go stay with him at my grandma's house. That only lasted for not even a year. My dad fell into deep depression. Raised in church, he's like, my wife left me, my family fell apart, so
it'd be hard.
Yeah, thought he was going, against God because he wasn't able to make the marriage work. So I didn't see much of my dad. Like, he was kind of like in and out of my life. Like, when he would be okay, he'd call, we'd hang out. I went to New Hampshire for a couple weeks with him. Some random lady he met on the internet, and he was like, I'm going to marry her, and we're going to go up here, and we're going to stay here. So we weren't really in contact all that much. Like, I can't really explain, like, that's really kind of like with the trauma that started. Like, I felt like I was outside of myself. Like, all this was going on, and I had no idea.
Yeah, I was going to ask the effect that had on you moving forward. I assume it had a major part in it. It sounds like it did, at least.
Yeah. I had friends, like, we didn't really do anything. I didn't try drugs or any of that stuff, like, while I was in school. I was, still a good kid, still got good grades. My mom used to run, like, a daycare in her home. So, like, this was my mom, when she got together with my stepdad, that's when she started drinking. So, like, there's a lot that I don't remember about childhood. Some of the stuff that I do remember is, like, I'd have to watch the kids for my mom because, she wanted to go to the store or she wanted to be in a room. I can remember, like, being upstairs in my room and playing with my dollhouse, and, like, every 10 minutes somebody's yelling for me to go get them a beer. My stepdad was an alcoholic. He ended up getting cirrhosis of the liver.
Jeez.
Yeah.
How old was he when that happened?
38.
Holy shit.
They didn't give him much time. He died at 39.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So it was a lot of, trips to the hospital.
So young.
Yeah. I was about to turn 16 when he died. We had gotten close. Like, we used to go, camping, and I just thought, drinking was the thing to do when you were an adult. They'd have friends over and everybody's drinking and playing cards, and
normal.
Yeah, it's what we do. And like I said, I didn't have much contact with my dad. It was just very sporadic. So he passed away. I remember he was in a coma for, like, I don't know, a week. He had woke up. We went to the hospital to visit him. And I remember him telling me, like, I need you to come back later so I can tell you something. At the time, I had a boyfriend who was, I was 15. I had a boyfriend that was living in the same house as us. And I was more concerned about staying home and being with a guy. I think in my journey through recovery, being able to look back at it, it's like I have a codependency issue. Like my family split apart. Me and my brother were never close because, you know, he's 4 years older than me. And at that point, when you're a kid, 4 years is a big difference.
Yeah, it is.
But I leaned on the relationships that I had. Like, it's almost like what I kind of took from my mom was like, everything else kind of gets put to the back burner. What's most important is your relationship that you have. And I carry that all through my life. I think the relationship that I'm in now is the most healthy relationship that I've ever been in, probably the only healthy relationship that I've ever been in. So first stepdad, I'm, you know, busy at the house and I don't want to go see what he has to say. I hadn't been to school for a week. This was my junior year of high school. And then I remember going to school the next morning. I was there for maybe 1 or 2 periods, and I got a phone call down at the office, and the sheriffs took me over to the hospital. And they said that he had had a cardiac arrest and that he wasn't going to make it through the day. And he ended up passing later that night.
God.
My mom just
Oh, my God.
fell apart. You know, she didn't want to leave the house. She was, you know, crying for days. So I ended up deciding that I didn't want to go to school anymore. I was like, well, there was so much that was going on. My mom had a friend who had a son that had gotten in trouble multiple times, and they had recommended he go to Life Skills, which the one that I went to was only open for 1 year. But it was like a alternative school where you go, you do all your work on the computers. It's like 3 hours if you work. So I started working full time. I got a job at Tim Hortons, and I worked full time. I went to classes started in November, and I finished my credits in February. And so up until June, I just had to turn in paycheck stubs saying that I was still working. So I was able to graduate. I actually ended up graduating from high school a year early. And then I worked when same boyfriend that I was with when my stepdad passed away. I had gotten into, I wanted to go to the club. So, you know, my friends were turning 18. We all wanted to go to the club.
You haven't had a drink or a drug yet?
Nope.
Wow.
Nothing.
Wow. Through all of that.
I think I had a sip of my mom's beer on accident when I was like 8 years old because I thought it was tea, and I was like, this is disgusting. So, like,
Right.
But no. So, I was determined, like, when my stepdad died from cirrhosis, I was like, well, I'm never going to drink.
Yeah.
I'm never going to drink. I don't want to be like that. I don't want that to happen to me.
Yep.
And so, like, when other kids were out drinking, it was always in my mind, like, what happened to him. So I didn't have a desire then to drink. But, you know, you get a little older. So I'm going to the club from, 18 to, when I first turned 19, I'm like, well, I want to see what everybody else is doing. Like, I felt like I just didn't fit in, and like everybody was drinking. So I felt like I was the one like off in the corner that
you're missing something.
Yeah. Something else is going on. I want to be the life of the party too. I want to go out and dance and have the courage to do that. So I did. I started drinking at 19, and it was off to the races then. Like, I didn't know that, some people tell you that if you black out that you're an alcoholic. I don't remember a time that I didn't black out. Like, when I drank, even when I first started, like, I drank to get drunk. Like, I want to know what this feeling is. Like, give me a double shot and a double of whatever you're drinking. Like, I'm going full fledged. I want to do it all the way.
For the effect that alcohol produces. That's what we want.
Yeah.
It doesn't taste good.
Yeah.
At least not to me.
No, it's not. It's terrible.
Never did.
So I started drinking at 19, and, I moved out of my mom's house. I got a place. I lived on campus for a year. And that's what we did every single night. I went to the bar every single night. I went to a club. And I was just living life. Can't even really tell you much about what happened during that time period because
you were so
I was so drunk all the time. I was working a really good job at Cr4ck, and I could not, like, I didn't have to be at work until 2:30 in the afternoon, and I still couldn't make it to work on time. So, like, it got to the point where it was either I was going to quit or I was going to get fired, and so I went ahead and quit. And since then, it's been, like, back and forth. Like, I moved back in with my mom. Wasn't able to keep a place of my own. So when I turned 21, No, I'm sorry. When I turned 20, I got pregnant with my first daughter, and I quit drinking. So this, my partying every night of the week went on for a year or two. And then when I got pregnant with her, I quit drinking. I was like, well, I thought I was just going to build my own family, and it was going to be a good family, and
Everything
me and her
will be
dad
perfect.
me and her dad was going to be together forever.
White picket fence and the whole nine.
I was sadly mistaken. Had found out that he had been cheating on me.
Oh,
Yeah. And so, we were broke up, a couple months into pregnancy. But I was one of them girls that would still hold on. So he would call for.
well, but shouldn't he still be holding on, like the child on the way and whatnot?
So.
Right? You'd think.
I guess there's nowhere publicly that says who her father is. So I don't mind sharing this. But he told me in the very beginning, he said, either I will pay child support or I will be in her life.
Okay.
Those were my options.
Okay.
So up until the time, so I didn't drink or anything until she was 2 years old.
Damn.
When I used my first pain pill. So, lived at home with my mom. I worked a job, took care of my daughter. Her dad would come get her every other weekend.
So he
when
kept
she was
he
about
kept
that
his
age.
word?
Well, she was about 2 when he would start coming to get her every other weekend.
Okay.
So I think it's just he's like, I don't know what to do with a baby. Found out later, it's he didn't even tell his mom. His mom didn't find out about my daughter until she was 8 years old.
What?
Yeah, we'll get there. So I was working and finally able to get my own place. It was me and my daughter. Now my brother is in recovery as well. I didn't really know anything about pain pills. I didn't know anything about, doctors prescribing them, any of that stuff. My mom is diabetic. So at one point she was, had surgery on her foot where she almost lost it. So the doctor was giving her pain pills. My brother came to stay with me, and he had lived with me a couple of times before, but he came to stay with me, and I remember I wasn't feeling good one day, and I just felt like I had so much stuff to do at the house, and he gave me my first Vicodin. And I was like, this is amazing. There is, it was kind of like the feeling that I had from alcohol, but I felt like there was control there. I drink too much alcohol, I'm out of control. I don't know what's happening.
Yeah.
I don't know what's happening. So I didn't feel that way. And so, first one I was like, that's great. So the next day I was like, hey, you got any more of those? Whatever you gave me yesterday, that was great. And so I don't know, it was maybe a week of, him giving me, a couple pain pills, a couple Vicodin here and there. And he ended up staying with me. We went through this whole thing where he was like, listen, I know this guy that we can buy these pills from and we can sell them and make money. So just give me the rent money that you have and I'm going to pay it back and I'll pay next month's rent. Really, he was just getting me. I don't think that was ever really his intention, but having gone through it now, I understand, what happened, but I was convinced. I was like, people pay for these. You can sell these and make money. And so I did. I gave him my rent money.
Which you can.
Yeah.
I mean, you can.
Yeah, I didn't know that then. So, this was almost 40, so almost 17 years ago.
Okay.
And so I did. I gave it to him, and he kept me with a, current supply of, if whenever I wasn't feeling good, he would just give me one. He didn't have to pay rent, none of that stuff. So, his dealer ended up moving in a couple of doors down from where I lived in a townhouse. And I became friends with his girlfriend. And then I realized that that's what they did for a living, was sell pain pills. And it just progressed from there. It was oh, we're going to play cards. Sure. Can I have half of that Percocet that you're taking? And they're like, oh, try this, try snorting it. So just kind of I stayed at home, you know what I mean? And I still took care of my daughter. She had 3 kids, but I was getting high the whole time. I remember the first time that I was sick, I didn't know that that's what it was from. I felt like I had the flu. It was terrible.
No one warned you that physical dependency was a part of this
No. And I remember calling my mom on the phone, and I was like, I am so sick. Like, I think I have the flu. Like, I need to go to the hospital. And my mom brought me a Percocet. And I was like, well, maybe this will make you feel better. But my mom didn't know. Like, my mom's not, like, my mom has been able to just stop taking pain pills. Like, she was prescribed them for years for pain. Like, she was able to just stop taking them and be okay. She's not full-blown addict like I am, who will send myself to prison eventually. Yes. So she came over, she gave me the Percocet, and I was like, man, I feel completely better. So then I was like, well, I just need to have these pain pills. All the time.
Jeez.
So then there was...
Is that not an overwhelming feeling there? I mean, that's...
So it wasn't like so terrible because, like I said, I had an endless supply. Like my brother was, you know, who knows how much he was actually doing at the time, but right. I didn't have to pay for them. I wasn't having to go out and do anything. Like, somebody was just there, or my neighbors, like I said, they were just there and they would give them to me. And so I didn't really think it was like any kind of big deal. So a friend of the family, was getting Oxy 80s and Perc 30s and was like, hey, I heard that you can sell these Perc 30s and make money. So he was selling them to me at the time for $10. Now, I know nobody in the drug world except for my neighbors and his girlfriend who I hang out with. So I'm like, hey, could you maybe sell these? Like, and he would give me 80 of them at a time. And I didn't have to pay for them.
$10 a pop?
At $10 a pop.
Holy
and I didn't even have
shit.
to pay for them up front. He would just give me 80 of them, and I would call him when I had $800 for him to come and get it. Yeah. And so I just asked my neighbors, I'm like, hey, would you be willing to sell these? And he's like, you could sell these for $20 a piece. And I'm like,
shit, 25, fuck.
Well, at the time, there were still places I could still buy them for like 17, later on. So it wasn't, we weren't quite there yet. But I made an agreement with him. I was like, can you just give me $5 and you keep $5, and then we'll pay back the $10 that, we have to pay for it. And that quickly became within a few months where I was eating through more of my profit. And I'm like, okay, well, you're not getting this many to sell because I was eating them. Yeah. Ended up having to leave my apartment, move back home with mom. So maybe a year later, I caught my first criminal charge. I had a dealer, cousin of the best friend, the lady that lived on the street, the dealer's girlfriend, her cousin, I had bought pills from, multiple times, and she was like, hey, this is what's going on. We have this doctor that writes these prescriptions, and all I need you to do is to just go cash the prescription at the pharmacy, and we'll give you...
This is locally.
Well, this is what she told me. She told me that it was a doctor, that it was locally, that it was a doctor's office and a pharmacy all in one, and that it was going to be real quick, like 15 minutes. Long story short, that's not what it was. But I was so sick the day that we were supposed to go do this that I didn't even care. We actually got in the car and drove 2.5 hours to... Do you know where Portage County is? Do you know where Akron is?
Yep.
So about 20 minutes north of Akron. Okay. Real teeny tiny town. That was the story that they told me to get in the car. But then they were like, okay, listen, so they're from a doctor's office in Columbus, but we have to come out here for the prescriptions. And I'm like, okay. So I'm not thinking anything of it. I'm like, all right, cool.
Doesn't change anything because you're still coming back here.
Yeah. She's like, they give me cash to pay for the prescription. And I was like, well, why do I need cash? I mean, I got Medicaid. Why do I need... Why do I need the cash to pay for it?
Cash only.
But they didn't want me. They were telling me, they were like, well, if you want to use your insurance, then that's up to you. And I'm like, okay. Well, I'm like, well, if I get to keep the money, then yeah, I'm going to keep the money, and I'm going to get pain pills, and I'm going to use my insurance. They're going to fill my prescription. And like I said, it's a real tiny town. So there were 5 of us that went on this trip. It was the girl who was the cousin of my friend, her boyfriend, the girl's cousin, and then me and my brother's girlfriend. Baby's mom. So there were 5 of us. And so 2 of us go into the same tiny pharmacy to get our prescriptions filled. And they're like, yeah, sure, just sit down and wait 20 minutes. And then in come the police. And I'm like,
what?
What's happening? I'm like, I don't understand. And I'm so naive because I'm not in this drug world. I'm not out buying pills from people on the streets. This is one family that have introduced me to a couple of people that were in their family that were selling. So I'm like, what do you mean? What's the cops here for? And so I get arrested. I was charged with a felony 2, felony 3, and a felony 4.
Holy shit.
Yeah. So the sheriff's on the phone telling my mom I'm spending 10 years in prison, and she's freaking out. I've never been to jail before. So I had a prescription for the Cr4ck was the second degree felony. The Cr4ck was a third degree felony, and the Xanax bars was a 4th degree felony. Because it's like over bulk amount, something or other. So I sat in jail for 40 days. This was my very first time ever being in trouble. First time I ever went to jail. Like, it was just beyond me. I'm calling my mom and I'm like, why can't you just bail me out? Like, you know how many times my brother's been to jail and mom's bailed him out? I'm like, why can't you bail him out?
My turn.
Yeah. So they'd set my bond at like $40,000 or something. When I got indicted like a week later, I went back to court and they dropped my bond down to $10,000. So I was telling my mom, like, it's only $1,000 now. Like, you can get me out, right? Yeah. Sell my car. Like, just get me out. Like, I'm 2.5 hours from home. In the meantime, so my mom is taking care of, my 2-3-year-old daughter. And I'm so sorry. That's her. She's, first day of college. And she's the only one that gets to get through the do not disturb mode.
No, you're fine.
So my brother's at home still using. So he's staying at my mom's. My mom, my brother, and my daughter get in a car accident. My mom, when my stepdad died, got, $100,000 life insurance policy. So went out, bought herself, at the time, brand new Monte Carlo Super Sport. Gets in a car accident. So she gets this payoff for her car because her car was already paid in full. My brother, who's still using, convinces my mom. So I'm sorry, I skipped over this part of the story. One of the other cousins from my friend, I was working at Walmart at one point, and I let her come through my line, and I didn't ring up half of her stuff. And so eventually when I went back in to get my paycheck after I quit, they were like, what's this? So I had a misdemeanor theft charge, and they were like, you'll have to go to court. So I had that outstanding warrant that I had never taken care of. So while I'm in Portage County Jail, my brother's like, they get their check or whatever from their accident, and my brother tells my mom, like, well, Franklin County's going to hold Ashley because she has a warrant. So there's no point in us paying the bond to get her out because they're going to keep her in Franklin and move her to Franklin County for this misdemeanor theft warrant. And,
but you'd probably get OR.
Well, I'm trying to tell my mom, so I'm outside of county range for them to come pick me up for a misdemeanor. I'm like, they're not going to drive 2.5 hours to pick me up for a misdemeanor theft charge. And even if I did, it was my first offense. You know what I mean? So I wasn't
doubtful they're going to waste resources on that.
Right. But my mom listened. My mom listened to him. My mom told him to go ahead and bail me out. So she gave my brother $2,000. He came up. He bailed his baby's mom out. They have a kid, and they get Social Security because he was born 3 months prematurely. So my brother couldn't cash Social Security checks without her because they came in her name. So my brother was like, got the $2,000 from my mom, came up, bailed her out, told my mom that he bailed me out and that Franklin County was just holding me. So he kept the other $1,000 to go get high with.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's some real life dirtbag shit. That is.
Me and my brother's been through some things. So she got out. I mean, the other girls, their grandma had come and bonded them out, the first week that we were there. So I think it's like third week that we're there, she gets out. And so I'm there by myself in a county. I don't know anybody. And so I don't know what to do. So I write the judge a letter. And I'm like, I've got a daughter at home, never been in trouble before. Like, can you reduce my bond? So they ended up taking me to court. And they let me out on an OR bond, so long as I had a landline phone that they could reach me at. And I was like, all right, great. My mom's got one, no problem. So I get back to the jail, and I call my mom, and I'm like, can you come get me? They're releasing me. And she's like, no. And I'm like, 2.5 hours from home, and I have to have somebody there to pick me up because I'm so far. And that's like part of my condition of my getting released on my own recognizance. Yeah. And she wouldn't come get me.
Did she not question? She thought you were already out, though.
She thought that she had paid the bond.
Oh,
and
okay.
She's still
insisting. She was like, I'm not coming to get you.
My brother is still insisting that Franklin County is coming to get me. And I'm like, Franklin County is not coming to get me. Like, I need you to come pick me up. Long story short, I was with my middle daughter. I was with her dad at the time. And I called him and I was like, is there any way your mom would come pick me up? I'm like, I got released. So, like, the whole time I'm in jail, I didn't have withdrawals. Like, and I don't know if it's like it's been like this kind of every time I've been to jail. Like, it's never really been bad. And I think it's like a mindset. And like, I didn't feel like super sick or anything. But that first night when I got home, like, I couldn't wait for her to get back home because I knew that my mom and my brother had pain pills. And as soon as I got home, that's exactly what I was doing. No matter the fact that I just got arrested for trying to get, like, I still didn't understand, like, how serious it was.
Well, when you're in jail, it's different. It's easier to detox because you have no choice. There's no option.
Right.
When you're out here, your fucking brain just keeps going and going and going and going until you've come up with the money to get what you need.
So you have some kind of plan.
Yeah.
So while I was in jail, my mom's house had got foreclosed on. She's married to the guy that I was with when my first stepdad died. Is now actually my stepbrother. So like my mom, when my first stepdad died, was only single for about a month, was dating a bunch of random guys. And I was like over at my boyfriend's house one day and told my boyfriend's dad, I'm like, hey, you should take my mom on a date. And he did. And they've been together ever since.
Really?
Yeah. So we were, my mom and him, my second stepdad, Henry, had bought a house. They were in foreclosure when I was in jail. This is during like the 2008, 9 mortgage crash, all that stuff.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So they lost their house. So in the meantime, my stepdad was like, I'm tired of dealing with you and your kids. And this is just craziness. Cause my brother has had his own run of strings with, family, and his addiction. And so my stepdad left my mom, and my brother convinced my mom to move out. So while I'm in jail, they move out of the house that we were living in. We were all living together. Got a half a double somewhere. So when I get out of jail, I get back. Nobody's at the house. Nobody tells me that they've moved. I can't get in the house. I'm like, what is happening? So then my brother tells me I'm not allowed to come and move in with them. And I'm like, what is happening? Like, I had no idea. I'm like, I don't know. It's like my brother.
Why does he turn on you so much?
I think it was like he was so stuck in his addiction. Like, he could convince my mom to, like, she's got some disabilities. So like he could convince her to hand over money, or like, oh, I'm going to pay rent, or I'm going to do this. And like mom would give him the money, but I'm like, no, he's not. Like, no, he's not. Don't give him the money. And so I think it was just easier for him to manipulate mom if I wasn't there.
Without you.
So I ended up getting in one of the windows and lived in the house that they foreclosed on for months. Months. Yeah. I got to the point where they would turn off the electric and I would go turn it back on. They would turn off the water. I had a friend that had a key we were able to turn the water back on. Wow. So like it was, yeah. So we stayed there. And then my brother eventually ruined some things with my mom. My mom was looking to get a place and get out. So me and my mom and my second daughter's dad, Sean, the one that his mom had picked me up from jail, we went and got a place out in the old Shannon Way. I don't even know what it's called now. Off the west side, it was like always a terrible neighborhood. It used to be called Shannon Way, but that was like 2 decades ago. Over off by Georgesville Road, like kind of by the casino. Okay. So we moved over there.
I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. So like at this point, like I'm doing pain pills like all the time. And like I ripped my mom off. Like I would take money out of her bank account.
Are you snorting them? Are you shooting them? Are you?
I was snorting them. I ran into an issue one night where I was at home by myself and I couldn't find anybody that had pain pills. I ended up getting a hold of one of my brother's old friends. Was an addict as well. And I was like, do you know anywhere I can go buy some? And this is like after they'd, shut down Florida. So it was a really hard time. Couldn't find anything.
It was a mess. Yeah.
And so he was like, well, look, I can't find any pain pills. He was like, but there's this other stuff. And it was like, and it doesn't cost as much money. And that was the first time that I tried heroin.
If I had $1 for every time I heard that sentence, somebody sitting in that chair, I swear. So
first time, smoking heroin. And I was like, well, yeah, this is great. It's so much cheaper. So that's when I started smoking it. I smoked for several years. So it's really just, my life is kind of a blur at that point. Like, I just remember, like, I wasn't, like, I would have off and on jobs, but still never no real serious consequences. Like, the charges that I ended up getting probation for.
Really?
They dropped the F2 and the F3. I pled guilty to an F4. I had 3 years of
Damn.
probation. So I was still using when I found out I was pregnant with my second daughter. I ended up getting arrested. I think it was for the misdemeanor theft charge. And I had not, they told me I had to have an assessment done for my felonies. They told me I had to have an assessment done and I had to complete whatever they had told me that I had to do. So at the time, like my assessment said I just had to take this like, it was like an 8-week course or something like that, kind of like IOP. I did that, never sent the information to probation. And so when I got picked up on my misdemeanor, I had a felony warrant for probation violation outside, back in Portage County. So go to jail, find out I'm pregnant with my daughter. I get extradited up to Portage County, so they keep me in jail.
Oh,
I was
God.
6 months pregnant. So they ended up they tried to send me to their like CBCF program,
Yeah.
but they wouldn't take me because of how far along I was in my pregnancy. So I got to go to, it was called the Horizon House. So I was court ordered to be there for 3 months. I left the week before my daughter was born. And I came back and I did outpatient at,
You completed though successfully? The
yeah,
program?
well, so it's up to a year program that they
Okay.
had, but they told me like I was only court ordered to be there 90 days and they tried to convince me to stay there and that I could have the baby there. And I was like, nope, I want to go home. So yeah, that was completed. So I was off probation up there. So it was just no big deal. I came back. It didn't take long for I was using again after I had my daughter. I remember breaking up with her dad in the hospital because he was doing heroin in the bathroom while, right after I gave birth to her. And then he's like, I got to go
God.
outside. I'll be back in just a minute and then be gone for hours at a time. So like I was,
Yeah, pissed.
yeah,
Fed up.
yeah. So we
everything.
broke up, but then it didn't take long. My mom, my stepdad had got back together. They had moved into an apartment, and I didn't have anywhere to go. So I was like, can I come back? And they've always let me come back. Like my mom, my stepdad, they I don't think they did it intentionally, but always enabled me. They gave me money for a really long time, and like
Damn.
I was really good at manipulating them, and so anytime that I didn't have money, like it wasn't ever really a big deal. Like my mom, my stepdad both got pain pills for a long time, and I was able to convince them to like, if they didn't have money, they would give me their pain pills. I would take the pain pills and go trade it for heroin. So,
Yeah, because now those pills aren't going to do shit.
Right. So, still just smoking it. My daughter's dad, so, I'm back to using. So we're talking, he steals some jewelry from his aunt's house, and I happily go pawn it with the intention that we're going to get it back out and she's never going to know. Well, she did know, and she called and she filed a police report.
Yep.
So 2 more felony 5.
Guess whose name's on it?
Yep. Me, 2 more felony 5 receiving stolen properties here in Franklin County. Went to court, got probation again. They dropped it down. So I pled guilty to 1 because he didn't have any charges. They said once the restitution was paid off that they would knock his down to a misdemeanor. So I was the one who ended up paying all of the restitution because he was out using.
And his gets dropped?
Yeah, his got dropped to a misdemeanor. Because I had a felony prior to that, I had a felony conviction, they wouldn't drop mine down to a misdemeanor. So because I had the felony from Portage County,
Wow.
that was considered my second felony. Well, it was technically my second set of felonies. Yeah, they wouldn't drop mine down. So then I had a F5 on my record as well. We didn't stay together long after that. So we broke up. I got with the next guy, which is my son's dad, who I ended up marrying.
How increasingly difficult does life become once you have these felonies?
I couldn't get a decent job anywhere. Prior to this, like I said, I worked at Cr4ck. I had offers to go work at like Chase Bank. Like I was very good at customer service. And then Amazon won't hire you to sort packages. So, I worked at Walmart. I worked at Tim Hortons. But I didn't have like any education outside of my high school diploma either. So I wanted at one point to be an accountant because I like numbers. But But really, when you have like, receiving stolen property, deception to obtain a dangerous drug on your record, you're kind of screwed. So, let's see. So get with Chad, who I end up marrying. I start working at so me and him get together. He ends up getting in trouble. He had a probation violation. He had to go do like 70 days in jail. So he goes to jail, and I'm at my mom's house, and my oldest daughter's 5. It's summer. It's right before school starts. Savannah's only 1. And I get into an argument with my stepdad over, like, my oldest daughter, her dad was paying child support. Like, at that point, like, I had got cash assistance, so that you don't have a choice. You have to file for child support if you get cash assistance. So, the argument was so stupid, and I was, like, trying to give him my child support card, and, like, he was upset with me. Long story short, we ended up getting into an argument in the kitchen, and he dumped a bottle of water on me. And I fell, and he hit me, and so I hit him back. Now, my mom is in the living room, can't see any of this. And she later tells me, my stepdad tells her, either you're going to tell the cops that she hit me, or you can get out too. And so I had left. I was all upset. I'm left. I'm crying. I call the cops, and I'm like, he hit me, like freaking out. So the cop comes and meet me just right outside the apartment complex, brings me, has me come back over to the house. And they're like, well, your mom and your stepdad are both saying that they didn't touch you and that he hit you, or that you hit him, so you're going to jail for domestic violence. And so I go to jail for domestic violence. He comes to court for my hearing. He asks for a restraining order against me. And now, granted, they have my 5-year-old, my 1-year-old daughter.
Yeah.
But, I'm the drug addict.
Bad beat after bad beat after bad beat.
I'm the drug addict. So they grant the restraining order. I think I did. They ended up dropping it down to disorderly conduct. I got released from jail in like 10 days. But I wasn't allowed to go back home. And I had nowhere to go. And I'm like, my kids, my mom's like, well, we'll take care of your kids for you. It's fine. So I go stay in this house with this lady. My boyfriend, like I said, was in jail at the time. So he meets some guy in jail whose wife has a house, and she's like, she can come stay with me. That lasted for all of a few weeks before things got bad between her and I. But my mom had offered to, she's like, Sierra's starting school soon. You should let me have custody, or let me, sign over this information, basically I signed over my rights. Like, I didn't really like think all of it through, but I was also still using, but like basically I signed over custody so that she could get my daughter enrolled in school. And she's like, when you get your stuff back together, get a place, we'll give them back to you. No problem. Yeah. I'm like, okay. So get into it with this lady that I'm staying at her house. So I end up homeless. So I call boyfriend who's in jail's mom, and I'm like, hey, I don't have anywhere to go. She's living with her husband and his mom, who has dementia. And she's like, I can't let you in the house because she has dementia. Don't want to freak her out. She's like, but you can sleep in my truck. So I sleep in her truck in the driveway. And I started working for Labor Ready because you get paid the same day. So like his mom kind of helped me out. They let me sleep in their truck for, I don't know, like 4 or 5 nights. And then we ended up going and paying for a week's rent or a week's stay at the F3tty hotel. I lived at the F3tty hotel.
That's the one on Broad Street?
Uh-huh.
Holy shit.
So I lived there for like 2 months.
That's like the biggest piece of shit hotel in town.
I know. It's so terrible. And it was like $350 a week. And so I was literally working. I was working at Labor Ready, going to the egg farm out in Johnstown. So like I would pay whoever the driver was that day, would go out there and work for, 10, 12 hours and then come back. We got paid same day. And so I just got into this habit where I was just paying for every week. But I was still doing heroin. I was still smoking. My husband gets out of jail. Well, he's my boyfriend at the time. He gets, out of jail. So then he starts going to work with me. So we both go to Johnstown. We're both working at the egg farm. We both ended up getting hired on. He got promoted to go work
full time.
Yep, full time. It was like $13 an hour, 50 hours a week. When we got hired on full time, his dad let us come stay with him out in Grove City so that we weren't staying in a hotel. Like, hey, save up your money. Sure. He took us to make sure that both of us had our driver's license. He was letting me use his truck. His dad had COPD real bad. When I got hired on full time at the egg farm, like, my boyfriend didn't want anything to do with drugs. Like, he has an older brother who's actually doing life for killing a couple people out west some years back.
Wow.
So he doesn't want anything to do with drugs. So like occasionally I can my mom's talking to me on the side, like behind my stepdad's back. So occasionally I can get some pain pills from my mom or from my brother, but I'm not really using anything. It's just, I just kind of stop and I'm just kind of miserable. But my boyfriend was okay with drinking. So we went back to drinking, and it was the bars every weekend.
Isn't it funny how that seems like lesser of the two evils somehow?
Yeah.
Or like,
it's like, oh, it's accepted.
okay,
It's okay. You can go
yeah.
out and just buy this in the store and
Yeah.
it's fine. And, but like I said, I mean, I don't think I've ever had a time where I drank and I didn't black out. So, I mean, I act a fool and I get very emotional. I'm a crying drunk. So, you know, I start talking about all these things that happened in childhood. And, so we ended up moving to Johnstown. So like I was a processing manager out there. I got a promotion. He was not happy about that. He's a very jealous guy. So I was like, you know, you're beautiful, but only to me. Like, very verbally abusive, physically abusive. So his dad.
What didn't he like? That you made more money than him?
Well, I wasn't allowed to talk to anybody. So there was another processing supervisor that worked with me. That was a guy, and he was like, "Oh, I seen you two talking," and like, you know, I don't know. He thought something was going on. He was very insecure. Ended up causing a lot of problems at work where they had to move facilities. So like I worked at one. There was like 4 sites up there. I worked at one, and he had to work at a different one because like he came in, like I did reviews for everybody, and I had this like folder that I kept everything in, and he would like come in the office and take my stuff and take it to the trash, and just really immature. But I'm like, oh, but he loves me. So
Yeah, that's true. That's
yeah.
way to show someone you love them.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I mean, I've not had great examples in my life thus far of like what a good, healthy relationship is. You know, didn't really still talk to my dad. Like during this time when I was working at the egg farm, my brother was staying with his baby's mom. She had got a brand new car for Christmas. Like her family comes from money. So he had my nephew and niece in the back seat, was doing heroin and Xanax, and went left to center, nodded out, and went left to center and hit somebody head on, like 65, both going like 65 miles an hour. Like my brother broke everything on the left side of his body. Like this was like one of the times that I got to see my dad because my brother was in the hospital. My dad's like, well, he was making medical decisions, which I ended up having to be the one to make medical decisions because he was estranged from my dad. My mom couldn't get up and come to the hospital. But so we lived in Johnstown. I'm like visiting with my brother. My boyfriend gets fired, and then I get fired. And so we're still living out there. So he's like trying to make money. So like what he's done, you know, all his life is he was stealing shit. So him and a friend went out and tried to steal 3 4-wheelers in Licking County.
What?
Yep. Broke into somebody's garage, got busted, so he went to jail. I went and started staying with my brother's baby mom. My brother's like in rehab. He was in the rehab over there by where Mount Cromwell used to be. I don't know, 3 or 4 months because he couldn't walk. He had to have like a hip replacement, knee replacement, spleen removed. Like, yeah, he was bad. So I'm staying out there. He goes to jail, and I take out a credit card in my mom's name because they're like, oh, you can get approved for this much. And I was like, oh, maybe I can bond him out. So, you know, I'm identity theft. Like I'm still in my mom's identity. I open a credit card, and I call a bondsman. So they approved the credit card for like $3,500, and his bond was $2,500 or something to get him out. And cause I wasn't working. He kept always asking like, well, when are you going to get me out? And I'm like, I don't know. I'm not working. I can't. So I open this credit card. I go meet the lady at the jail to bail him out. And she doesn't swipe the credit card. She's like something about like the courthouse. It was like right before they closed. So she just like wrote down the credit card number instead of like swiping on something like bail bondsman or whatever. So she ends up not charging the credit card. So like he gets out. I'm like, this is great. Like, let's go. Well, you know, we're just gonna go. We're gonna spend the money. It's whatever. I go back to my brother's girlfriend's.
How do you fuck that up? God damn.
Man, I went back to brother's girlfriend's house, get drunk one night, and he decides, like, let's go out and steal a 4-wheeler. So then I go with him, and I'm drunk, and I remember going in the barn with him, and I remember helping him push the 4-wheeler out, and he's like he couldn't get the 4-wheeler started, so he's trying to put it in the back of our flatbed truck, and he's like, he's trying to tell me I have to help him pick up this 4-wheeler, which I can't. Like I'm drunk. Like everything is just funny at this point. I just think this is hilarious that this is what we're even doing. And the cops pull up and they're like, do you guys need help? And we're like, yeah. And he's like, oh, I just bought this 4-wheeler. He was like, I just bought this 4-wheeler. He was like, it stopped running on me. And granted, it's like 5 o'clock in the morning. So he was like, well, do one of you have your I can help you get it loaded. Do one of you have your driver's license so I can just, clear you guys to leave or whatever. And obviously I'm drunk, so I'm not handing over anything like I'm driving a car. So he gives them the driver's license. The cop goes and runs the name. And because it's Licking County again, they're like, wait, you're helping him do what? And he was like, yeah. He's like, I'm going to help him load this 4-wheeler. I just need to make sure that, there's nothing on his license. They're like, we just released him from jail. Like, it was like 2 weeks before that. We just released him from jail for trying to steal, 3 4-wheelers. So then they see it's the house right down the street from where we're at. And so they knock on those people's doors. I mean, we sat out there for probably 2-3 hours. I ended up falling asleep in the back of the cruiser. So go to jail. So I get to jail and I call my mom and I'm like, hey, I'm just letting you know, I was out with Chad last night, stole a 4-wheeler. I was like, so I don't know when I'm going to be home. And that's what they used to indict me.
What did they charge you with? Grand theft?
Theft of a motor vehicle, possession of criminal tools, breaking and entering.
God.
So 3 felonies. So he had went and told the detectives the next morning I didn't have anything to do with it. So they let me out. So I didn't know what was going on. I just got released the next morning. They ended up later indicting me because I made that phone call to my mom. Like, hey, because, I don't.
You said it on the phone.
Yeah, I'm drunk. And I was like, yeah, I clearly didn't think any of that through.
This 4-wheeler.
So a few weeks later, like, he has to go to court for the first one. So they ended up putting all of the charges together. So he has, the first set of 3 4-wheelers that he steals. And we go spend a week in a hotel. We get married. I got pregnant. 4 days later, he got sentenced to 4.5 years. So then he, it was bad. So he tried to control my life from prison. Told me I was going to have an abortion. And then once I got to the point where I was too far along, he's like, okay, well, he's like, you're going to give the kid up for adoption. So, like, I'm lying to him the whole 9 months. And I'm like, yeah, I'm picking out a family to adopt him out to. And I'm lying the whole time. So finally, like, after I have my son, I'm like, listen, I can't give him up. Like, I'm not going to. And so he was threatening me. So I ended up leaving him. And I was like, okay. I was like, well, then we can't be together because, I'm not giving him up. So after that is when I started shooting heroin. Went down to the dope dealer's house and was like, just having a time. And I'm like, you know what? I want to know what everybody else is talking about because everybody comes in here and everybody talks about how good they feel. And this is what I want to do. That's what I did. And I was like, this is amazing. And like,
when you shot heroin for the first time, did you do it yourself? Someone help you?
Nope. So one of my brother's old friends that I ended up dating later, he shot me up for the first time. And he was always like, I couldn't do it. I didn't know how to do it. So like anytime I would go buy stuff, I'm just like, hey, can you hit me real quick before I leave?
Yeah.
So that started that. So my son was, I ended up starting to date that guy. So like left my husband, and then, my dealer became my boyfriend, got on methadone, went to court for these felonies that I had for, for the breaking and entering, theft of a motor vehicle, and, possession of criminal tools. They gave me probation.
God.
Again. So my third time I get probation. But I was also, I was pregnant. My stepdad got up in the court and was like, she's really trying to do better. She's taking her medication. Like, I was on methadone. So I was still high all the time.
What inspired the methadone, the swap to methadone?
So the guy that I started seeing was like, well, if you're pregnant, you really shouldn't just come off of heroin. You should go to methadone. Because he was on methadone. So then I just started going to the methadone clinic. So did that. When my son was born, I was there by myself. Nobody was there with me.
Not one person. Which sucked. Damn.
Yeah. Nobody even came to visit him in the hospital. So he's coming off of methadone. I was on 80 milligrams, the whole time I'm pregnant. So he was in the hospital for 17 days.
Detoxing.
Yeah, he was on morphine to detox. So what I was doing was, at the time when he, like right after he was first born, like I was just using methadone. So like I would be up in the mornings, like get my daughters off to school because I'm back staying at home with my mom again. I would get them to school, sleep during the day, and then I would go back and I'd spend the nights with them at the hospital. But nobody came up to the hospital at all to see him until the day he got picked up. My mom and them brought me up there to pick him up so that I didn't have to take the bus with him home. So my mom has custody of my daughters throughout all this from the original charge that I got into with my stepdad. My son's 5 months old. He's 3 months old. He's 3 months old. I go to probation, and at this point, like, I started using again. So I'm using methadone and I'm using heroin. And my probation officer's like, we've had it. Like, you continuously keep dropping dirty. Like, something's going to happen. So one of the times that I went in to see her, she was like, all right, well, you're going to treatment. And I'm like, I can't go to treatment. Like, I have a baby, like, and I have 2 kids at home. And she's like, I'm going to send you to treatment where you can take your son. So she sends me to this place down in Ironton. I am there for not even a week. So nothing to come off the methadone. So I'm on 80 milligrams. Nothing for it.
Nothing?
Nothing. I'm in a room with
some ibuprofen or something.
I mean, I probably could have ibuprofen,
Tylenol?
but I'm saying, like, there was no withdrawal, anything.
Yeah.
They wouldn't dose me down, like, none of that stuff. It was just, nope, you can't have it no more. So there's like 10 ladies in the room. We're all on bunk beds. It's like this great big house. My son's in a pack and play, in the room. So I'm on a top bunk 8 days into my withdrawal. That's really when I started getting sick, was like 8 days in, because I'd been on it for so long, and it takes a while. So then I'm like, I can't get up in the middle of the night and take care of my son. And then I remember that I had set an appointment for my son to get his shots, and so we weren't allowed to use the phone there. But I was like, listen, my son has a doctor's appointment and he has his shots, and I've got to go, take him to the doctor. So I call my boyfriend, and I'm like, it's my dealer boyfriend, and I'm like, hey, can you check my phone and tell me what day Alex's doctor's appointment is? So he gets on my phone and he tells me what day it is, and it's like 2 days later, and they're like, well, we'll just schedule him a doctor's appointment down here. And I'm like, no, this is his doctor. You can't make me, go to a different doctor. Like, he gets his shots. Like, I don't want to have to go all over Ohio to get his shot records when he goes to school. Right. So convinced them to take me to the doctor's appointment, and my boyfriend's not stupid. I'm like, oh, okay, they're going to bring me. So he shows up, and he gives me money and phone, and he's like, do you want to sneak these back? And I was like, no, I'm sick. Like, I want to leave. So that day I left the doctor's office with my son, left treatment. So I had a warrant out for my arrest, and hid for 2 months. The U.S. Marshals found me. So my son was 5 months old. U.S. Marshals busted in the door. We're staying with a dude that my guy sells dope to. So then I have, they started with, child endangerment charges.
Oh.
Because I have, we use in the house, we have a milk jug that we keep using needles in. And so they're like, child endangerment. None of that ended up sticking, though. So I went to jail. My boyfriend bailed me out. They gave me a $100,000 bond. So my boyfriend bailed me out, made a deal with Woody Fox, and was like, I'll give you $4,000 right now and make payments on the other 6. So he gets me out. He had a, what's it called? A timeshare thing that he had purchased out in Las Vegas.
Okay.
So my brother offers to watch my son. Me and him go on a trip to Las Vegas. We take an ounce of heroin with us, use all of it. We're buying from people on the strip. Yes.
With you?
Yes.
How did the hell do you take it? You drove?
We drove, yeah, because I had a warrant. So I was like, I'm not getting on a plane. So we drove out there.
Get arrested at the airport.
So we're out there for 2 weeks. That was fun, walking around. There's this homeless camp on part of the strip. And it's just walking around trying to find people that, you can walk down the street and know where to get stuff from. So we're walking up to people hey, I'm trying to get some heroin. Got ripped off a couple of times, but was able to continue to supply our habit when we went to Las Vegas. I remember we were so sick on the way home. We didn't even stop on the way home. We just back and forth would switch off just to get home because we were sick and we didn't have anything. So get back from Las Vegas. My bail bondsman finds me. So, because obviously, it's a $100,000 bond that I just skipped out on. So my bail bondsman finds me. I go to jail. And my probation officer comes in and gives me a drug test. And she's like, yeah, you just lit up the panel, didn't you? And I'm like, yeah, well, whatever. I just didn't care. I apparently tested positive for everything when I thought, At the time, I was shooting heroin, and every once in a while, we were doing cocaine. I remember the first time doing cocaine. It was Christmas Day. I was over at my dealer's house. This is like, this is before the Vegas trip and right before I went to that rehab that my probation officer sent me to, because she sent me in January. So in December was the first time I'd ever tried cocaine. They were smoking crack, and I was like, I like couldn't figure out how to hit it or whatever, because I was like not getting anything off of them. Like, this is stupid. Like, I don't even know why you waste your money on this. You guys all talk about smoking crack and all how it's great and whatever. Yeah. And he was like, yeah, I got something for you. So he goes and gets some vinegar and breaks it down and shoots me up. And I'm like, that was my favorite feeling ever. I'm like, do you hear that? Like, do you hear it? Like, I thought the train was coming through the walls.
The bells.
Yes. And I was fucked up.
When you shoot cocaine, it is a completely different drug.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it was serious. And that would have became my drug of choice at the time had I not ended up, subsequently going to jail and then to prison. So right before...
So they finally had enough.
Yeah.
They were like, okay. Prison.
Right, yeah. Right before, like the week before my bail bondsman found me, I overdosed 3 times. So this is the time when like fentanyl really just came out.
Starting to hit the streets.
And I remember like my boyfriend telling me, he was like, no, he's like, you can't shoot this. Like, you just have to smoke this. Like, you can't shoot this. Like, you'll probably die because people had overdosed or whatever. So then we got to the point where I would take, and he'd been doing this for 20 plus years. I was taking the rinse off of his spoon that he was shooting up on. And I overdosed 3 times on the rinse of what he was using.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So, I think the last time we were like at a Burger King or something, and he like shot me up in the parking lot, and we get out to go in and get breakfast, and I didn't even make it out of the car. He was like, you literally stood up and fell just face first on the concrete.
I've never heard of somebody overdosing on a rinse.
Yeah.
That's the first time I've heard that.
3 times.
Wow.
Well, I was only smoking, tar heroin.
Right.
And then, so like, this is like something brand
Super,
new. That's
super
yeah.
strong.
And like I said, he'd been using for a really long time. So, I mean, he could do a lot, and it, just be well.
Yeah.
So I ended up going to jail, go to prison. Like, I go in front of the judge, and they're like, we're going to give you the 18 months you have on the shelf. And I'm like, are you serious? Because I have gotten away with it so many times. Like this, my 3rd set of felonies. I've never even had to do jail time over it, other than, the little bit of time that I served like the first time. And I'm like, what do you mean prison? Like, it was so surreal to me. I'm like, he's full of shit. That's not really what's happened. I'm not really going to prison. And then I did. I spent like 2 months in the county jail.
Did your heart sink to your stomach when he sentenced you? I mean, or did you really believe like?
I think I was.
Right.
It was just like really in shock, and I was like,
shock.
I'm not really going to prison. Like, this is a joke. This is a scare tactic.
Sure.
You're just telling me this or whatever. And then I went to Marysville, and admissions sucks. Nobody's classified like their level yet, so you don't know what their security risk is. Like, you don't. And the girls are they're immature. They're pretending like they're driving a car to the corner store around the bunk beds, and lights are on all the time, and it's loud all the time.
Oh my God. So
you don't get out of the admissions building until you get like classified or whatever as what level security you are. And so I was level 1 security because I had, this is my first time in prison. Like, I have family or whatever, like all the questions they ask. So I'm in admissions for like 40 days, and then I pop out to the general admission. I'm there for 2 weeks, and I get a letter saying they're going to send me to Cleveland to the Northeast Reintegration Center, which is like the level 1 security prison. And I was so pissed because I was like, nobody's going to come visit me. Like, Marysville's not far from home. Like, if I go all the way to Cleveland,
no one's coming.
Yeah. So I get to Cleveland on a Friday, and that same day that I get there on commissary, you can order sheets and pillows, and they have a concert going on in the yard. And I'm like, what is this?
The hell kind of prison is this?
Prison was a joke. It was like a sorority. It was, there wasn't a whole lot of drugs
camp.
Up there.
Yeah.
But, like, you had so much freedom to do whatever up there. Like, I mean, I went to like NA meetings, but like, even still then, I'm still like, I don't know that I don't think that I'm an addict. Like, I never get to the point where I think like I'm an addict and I like need help. I started working the steps like with a sponsor through the mail, got through like step 5, and like that was it. When I got released, I got sent back to transitional control. So I went to the Alvis house for the 4.5 months, the remainder of my sentence. While I was there, drug addict boyfriend, was still using. And I was like, I'm trying to stay sober. Like, I don't think that being around somebody that's using is probably a good idea. So I'm like, just trying to like, I want to get my kids back. I want to do the right thing. And it wasn't so much that I thought that I needed any kind of treatment. I was just like, I'm just not going to. And so we ended up breaking up. He ended up catching multiple charges and ended up doing over 5 years in prison for it. One which could have been me. Like there was something that he got charged with that I was there for. They asked him who was in the car, but he wouldn't tell them who it was. And so like I could have, and it had something to do with a gun. So
well, yeah, certainly you would have been there.
Yeah, I would have gone down for that. So, he took that. So I was in the Alvis house for 4.5 months, and I was just like, I went to all my groups that I was supposed to go to. I went to the required meetings that I was told to go to.
Alvis normally pretty riddled with drugs and.
There were a couple girls that had overdosed while I was there. Plenty that got kicked out for using drugs. But I think I was just like, I had this mindset like, all right, I want to be there for my kids. I'm gonna like do the right thing. But like I said, I don't think that I need treatment. And I don't really have like, I never really had like community, not really people that I talked to that were healthy or that were like really focused on recovery.
They're hard to find in places like that, believe it or not.
I got a job at Chipotle out in Reynoldsburg. I worked there for over a year. I got a second job at B-Dubs as a server. And so I worked full-time at Chipotle. I worked part-time at B-Dubs. Did my 4.5 months in the Alvis house. Had got back in contact with my dad like the last month or so that I was in prison. We had talked a few times, and he had offered like, hey, when you get out, if you need a place to stay, like you can come stay with me. And so like he was really kind of going through one of his spells when I got to Alvis. Like he would sit on the phone and talk to me for hours, and it would just be like rambling, and it would sound crazy. And he's like, God showed me my third wife, and I've never even been married twice, and like delusional. And so I'm like, okay. And like, it was nice to be able to talk to him.
Still untreated?
No.
Still, he
never treated. My grandma, before she passed, didn't leave the house for 10 years. We grew up where you don't tell people your business, like what goes on. Like I found out later, like my dad and my mom were physical with each other. And like my mom would tell my grandma, was like, you don't tell anybody else. This stays in the house. Like we'll deal with this, like as family, whatever. So start talking to my dad right before I get out of the Alvis house, and I go and decide I'm going to go stay with him. So my grandma's in a nursing home, had fell and broke her hip and had been there ever since. Because of my dad's mental health, my uncle was able to get like legal, I don't know, it's like guardianship type deal over my grandma. So my dad was not even allowed to go visit her in the nursing home anymore. So I went and stayed with my dad. Not even a month. The first week that I was there, the electric was turned off. And I'm like, well, how much do you owe? And so like my dad was telling me like, hey, if you pay $500 a month, like you can stay here, whatever. My dad, the mortgage was $140 monthly payment. And like he was just so far behind from where he didn't work.
That $140 for the mortgage?
Yeah. So my grandma had taken
nothing.
out, my grandpa built the house back in the 50s. And so like the house was already paid off. When my mom and my dad split, my mom got to the point where or my dad, they took his driver's license for not paying his child support. So my grandma took out a loan on the house, paid off the child support so that he didn't have to worry about that. So that's all it was for. So electric gets turned off. It's like $600. And so I give him the money to pay it. And then the gas gets turned off. And I'm like, I'm trying to save to get my own place, to get my kids back. I'm like, if I pay this and like this is like me paying next month's rent, then what are you going to do next month when the bills are due and you can't pay them? Quit his job that he worked. He got a job, started working for a week, quit his job. And so I was like, I just don't think that this is a healthy environment for me to be in. So like when the electric's off, it's a property that has a well. It's an electric well. So then there's no water if there's no electric. So I was telling my boss at Chipotle, young lady, she was 21. She was the general manager there. She's like, you can come stay with me. So I'm like, okay. So I go and I stay with her. She only charged me $200 a month for rent. I'm able to save up money, get my own place, and like my kids are coming over. Ex-husband's getting ready to get out of prison at this time. So he's getting out of prison, he's calling or whatever, and he's like sending me these letters, and he's like telling me how good he's doing, how sorry he is for everything that he put me through, and how he's sorry for putting his hands on me and all this or whatever. And I took these domestic violence classes, and like I went to college and got a degree, and I did all these things, and I'm like, okay. So I'm like, I'm going to give it another shot because, you know, you're my son's father. It's still legally my husband. So I'm like, we're going to give this a shot. And I was like, but if you ever put your hands on me again, like I'm leaving. He's out of his house for 2 weeks, gets upset with me and like pulls me by my hair, jerks the steering wheel. Like, so I almost wrecked the car with our son in the back.
Driving?
Yes, I was driving. And so after that I was like, all right, like I'm done. Like I'm not going back through this with you. So brand new apartment that I have, end up moving out of that because he won't give me the keys to it. So he has a copy of the key, and it's a whole thing with my landlord. So she ends up letting me out of the lease. So then I start dating the next guy. And what's funny is like most of the guys that I have dated.
Where are you finding these dudes?
This one we started talking on Facebook. My ex-husband, we started talking on Facebook. The funny thing is like, so Savannah, her dad, Sean, I've known since we were kids. We all grew up in Cherry Creek together. Chad, the one that I married, I knew since I was a kid. He grew up in the same neighborhood. The drug dealer that was a boyfriend, like same thing. We all grew up in the same neighborhood. So this new boyfriend, same neighborhood, known him since I was a kid. Started dating him, and I'm back to drinking. It's so like I did good for a little while, but never with any kind of support. Like when I got out of the Alvis house, it only took 2 months. My boss was like, "Hey, you want to have a drink? It's your birthday," and I don't tell anybody that I'm an addict because I don't believe that I'm an addict. So I'm like, sure. So then, you know, I start drinking. And then that continued for years. It's always gone back to alcohol. Like anytime that I've like been able to put anything down, I always start with alcohol. Like it's always been like that. So with this new guy, you know, a couple years, I'm raising his 3 kids, my mom had my son while I was in prison. So I finally get, you know, physical custody of him back, even though she never had like actual custody of him. I'm going to court and trying to fight her to get my girls back. And this has happened like multiple times throughout my journey where like I'll get sober and I'll try to get my kids back and my mom will tell me no. And so then I have to go to court and I have to fight her for it. And then I have to go to court. This last time I had to go to court and fight because the original papers that I signed when they were 5 and 1 said that they would have supervised visitations with me 1 time a week. And that was what the court was trying to uphold when my mom said, no, you can't have them. So I had to go to court so that I could get visitations set up. So then I would have them Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and every other weekend. So living with this new guy, drinking all the time. And then I find crack. And it was that old friend that lived in that apartment complex that my brother, her boyfriend was the dealer, you know, way back in the very beginning from pain pills.
Yeah, you tried it once, right?
Yeah. So I'm in there and I'm smoking. Started out with fentanyl. I was smoking fentanyl. She gave me crack. Tried that. So I was doing both fentanyl and crack. Boyfriend kind of gave me an ultimatum and was like, you know, after it went on for months, he's like, you need help. And so I went and checked myself into Recovery Works, and was there for their 28-day program, stayed for their PHP program for another 28 days, did their IOP program afterwards, stayed sober for like 6 to 8 months. Was so excited, got my CDCA because I was like, this is what I want to do. I'm like, okay, I understand. I have a problem. I want to help other people who have a problem. Right. So I go and I get my CDCA license. And to celebrate, I go to Key West by myself. And I think that I'm going to go down and enjoy the beach. Not do I know that Key West is not a beach town. It's a party town. So go down there.
There's bars.
Yeah. And go on, like an all-day excursion where you get to go like parasailing and jet skiing, and go snorkeling. And at the end of it on the boat ride back, it's free drinks. And I'm like,
open bar.
I don't really like, I don't really drink beer. So she's like, I'll make you this drink with this tequila. And then started again. So then I'm drinking every night the rest of my trip. Come back, or right back to where we were. So I had this counselor when I worked at Recovery Works that I got really close to, who I had a hard time, like in the household that I grew up with my my grandpa being a preacher, like, I don't know how to separate the word God from Jesus. So, like, all these, like, I've done different treatment programs, and so, you know, it's always go to AA, but I had a really hard time with
the God part.
God being whatever my understanding of God is. Like, when they're like, the doorknob can be your higher power, I'm like, that's stupid. You don't know what you're talking about. This program's a waste of my time. Because I didn't understand, nor was I open-minded enough to even attempt to listen to it. So she starts talking about, like, the universe and frequency and sound healing and meditation. And, like, so I get into all this, and I think this is great. So she ends up getting me a job at a sober living facility when I have 6 months clean as a counselor. And so I'm going in, and I'm counseling people. Mind you, I've already started drinking. And it gets to the point, so I work there for, like, 3 or 4 months, and it gets to the point where me and my boyfriend get into it again because I'm hiding my drinking. I'm, you know, buying the little shots of Fireball, and I'm hiding them in the trash can in the basement because I'm the only one who does laundry. So nobody's going to come down and find them. So he ends up telling me, you know, I got to go back to treatment. I got to go do something else because, like, he's like, I can't have this around the kids. Like, I need you to get yourself straight. And so I go and stay at my brother's house, my brother, who I think's been sober. And I go in his house, and I'm nosy, and I'm going through his stuff, and I find a crack pipe. And I'm like, now, about a month before this, there was an old dealer who had reached out to me. And for a long time, I refused to change my phone number. I'd had the same phone number for, 10 years. I was like, I'm not changing my phone number. So I had a dealer who had reached out to me who had went to prison or whatever and was like, hey, just letting you know I'm good now. And I was like, oh, you know, I'm sober. I'm not doing anything. So I'm good. I have one bad day, and I'm calling him, and I'm like, you still got that stuff? I find the pipe at my brother's house. So I spend the entire weekend smoking crack. Call my counselor who got me the job at the sober living place that I was working at. And I tell her what happened. And my brother's like, listen, I told you if you used, you can't be in my house. And I'm like, found the pipe in your house.
Yeah, it's your fucking pipe.
Like, it was, I mean, pipe. It was clean. It wasn't a used pipe, but still, like, why do you have it if, you know, you're not doing something? So my brother kicks me out. The counselor lets me come and stay with her. Now, mind you, she was just my counselor 6 months before that. So it's an ethical thing that she's letting me stay with her. So I go and I stay there, and I'm...
Does she get in trouble for that?
Well, we'll get there.
Yeah.
So, great. You know, I stay with her maybe 3 weeks. I'm smoking crack in her house. My son is with me.
Oh, my God.
In her house, yeah. So she suggests harm reduction. She takes Adderall. And she had some Vyvanse that was left over. So she gives me some of those, and it's like, well, you know, maybe if we just curb that and we, you know, you get on a medication.
Tone it down a little bit.
Yeah.
Here.
So then I'm able to know what I need to tell a doctor to get me to prescribe them for me. Right. So a doctor that our sober living facility used to prescribe certain medications, I went to her and was like, oh yeah. And I haven't had time to get my prescription. And she was like, okay, well, I need you to take a drug test. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's fine. Like, do I have to come in and do it today? Like, can you just call this prescription in for me over the phone? So she does. So without ever even seeing this doctor, no drug test, nothing, I was able to get them to prescribe these to me. So then I'm using that, and that doesn't matter because then I feel like I'm up all the time. So then I'm back to smoking fentanyl in my office at work at a recovery center.
Wow.
And so the counselor that helped me, that had let me stay with her, was working for them as well. And so she's trying to hide it. She's trying to give me a chance to not completely screw up everything I had just built.
Trying to help you out, yeah.
Yeah. So we get to the point one night, I don't know, I'm like so high, and she calls me and she's like, where's your son? I'm like, he's at my mom's. And she's like telling me that she's going to call children's services on me. I've had children's services come out multiple times. They've never opened a case. Like, not even when they found my son, you know, when marshals found me, they never took my son. They never opened a case. And so I was like, do you think that you're helping? Do you think that calling children's services is helping? And I was like,
yeah, wasn't she just the one that was trying to give you shit to get off crack and whatnot?
Yeah,
and
she
now
was.
You want to be holier than thou?
So she's like, you're out of control, and I don't know what to do. And so, like, the first real therapist that I'd ever talked to was at the time was the clinical director at Recovery Works. So she reached out to him. Like, she no longer works there, but she knows that I have this relationship where I have talked to him and told him, you know, about the trauma and stuff that had happened in my life. And he'd been like the first real person I'd opened up to about these things. And so she calls him, and then he calls me, and he's like, I'm just letting you know, I'm going to be here today if you want to stop in and talk to me. And so, I don't know, like the next day or whatever, I go into work, and I'm like, hey, you know, is Ryan here? Can I talk to him? So I go in and I talk to him, and I tell him everything. I tell him about how, you know, this counselor has given me this is what she was giving me, these meds. She's doing shrooms. We're talking about microdosing. I started microdosing it then as well because like it's really easy to buy microdosing psilocybin online.
Yeah.
And I'm like, do you think I need rehab? And he was like, I can't tell you if you need rehab or not. And he was like, if you can put it down and not pick it back up, then he was like, do I think that you could like go back and get on with your life and like continue doing what you're doing? Yes. He was like, but if you can't, then yes, I would tell you to come into inpatient. And so I'm stubborn. I'm like, I don't need help. I'll just do it myself.
Do it myself.
And, but what she had done with giving me the meds that she had given me, the fact that she had let me come and live with her, he was like, I'm telling you right now, he was like, because of this information, he's like, I am calling the board. He's like, because that's a violation. She should have never done any of those things. So she, so I only lived with her for a few weeks. I ended up getting my own place, and it was even more worse, and I spiraled even more out of control. That's all I did all day long was smoke crack. And then when I run out of crack, then I make sure I have enough fentanyl to like pass out for the night. So I mean, I would go for days at a time. So it wasn't even at that point, like my addiction had become crack. It wasn't about fentanyl anymore. And I don't know why. I think it's just because I think that I'm in control when I'm awake. You know what I mean? And I'm not like nodded out. So like, I think I'm in control. So like, this is the better drug to use. I didn't know how to cope with anything that was going on in my life. So ex-boyfriend that I had, been with, had told me to leave. I ended up getting into an argument with him on the phone because he shows up at my house and I was passed out and my son didn't go to school. And so my son let him in the door and he came upstairs. I remember like arguing and fighting with him. Shit. I was so upset because I had crack and I had fentanyl in separate bags and he found my crack. And I was so upset. I was like trying to trade him. I'm like, please, I'm like, give me that back. Like, take this. Like, I was trying to convince him to give me the crack back. And he's like, no, I'm not giving it to you. And then I was like, I'm going to get help. Like, I just need it. So I ended up calling the clinical director back and I was like, and I did it almost as like a move of defiance because he was like, you're not going to get help. He's like, you're just going to continue to do this until you die. And so I called the clinical director and I'm like, do you have a bed available for a female? And he's like, yeah, for who? And I was like, for me. He was like, yeah. He's like, I can get you in a day. And so I went back to treatment that day. While I was in rehab, met another guy.
Did you get your crack?
No, he didn't give it back to me.
Damn.
I smoked the fentanyl before I went, though. So I went back to rehab. The guy that I'm with now, I met the second time that I went to Recovery Works. He was just a friend. He was somebody to talk to. When I got out, when I was like, all right, let's be serious. Like, this is really what's going on in my life. And it was, I needed to go to treatment. I needed continued treatment. Like, I am an addict. I don't know how to stop on my own. Like, I've tried plenty of times to just put it down, but it doesn't work.
What about Amethyst? Does Amethyst come into the scene at all?
No. So
'cause they're like super long and they take kids and the whole nine. When
I was at the Alvis house before I left and I moved in with my dad, they had told me like I had a family, it's like a family and children's program that they have there, and they had tried to convince me to go to Amethyst, and I was like, can't work for a year? I don't think so. So yeah, it wasn't really like, it was my second round at Recovery Works, and like it was within a year of each other. Like that clinical director had made me understand like what actually happens to our brain like during addiction. It's like that there really is something like your pleasure sensor is messed up, and like once you've raised the bar so high, like it's really hard to get it to come back down, especially like even when you first stop using, like it takes time for that to go back down for you to even feel pleasure with life or whatever. So like I understood it more after the first bout. Like I tried to do like meditation. I'm like, okay, the universe is my higher power, because I didn't want to hear anything about God. But ended up leaving the other boyfriend that I was with.
The good one?
No, the one that one that, I mean, he's the one that got me to go back to treatment. So, but I ended up staying with the guy that I met in treatment. His name is Scott. Like I said, we're still together now. We've had our moments, but it's been about 2 years. When we got out, like, I don't know, like we would go out and try like new meetings together. Started going to church. And
And I wasn't really still sure how I felt about any of that. And like 4 months into the relationship, we relapsed together.
Oh, God.
He's working. I had a friend that had let me borrow a car. So I was driving him back and forth to work. He was working at a country club, and we're not driving nice cars, driving into a country club that you're manager of or whatever.
Right,
So it's
right.
like a series of things happened, and he was like, I just want to get high. And I'm like, yeah, let's do it. No question whatsoever.
That quick.
Yeah. Yep. I told you it's a codependency issue. And so I was like, yeah, let's do it. And he was like, but like just for the weekend. And so
Right, sure.
we get high. He actually stops. And I'm like, no, I'm not done. and so this continues on for like a few weeks where he's like, I don't want to, but I'm still like, no, I'm not done getting high yet.
Finished.
Like now you done started it.
It's gonna
like
take a second.
now it's gonna be a minute. So, long story short, like he went to rehab a couple times. Like he went to rehab, like he would go to detox, and he would try to convince me to go with him, and I would tell him no. Then he would, spend a week or 2 weeks or whatever. He'd come back out, and he'd be like, "Are you ready to go?" And I'm like, "Nope." He'd get high with me, can try to convince me to go to
God.
treatment. And that happened a couple of times. Last time, and he was like, "Look," he's like, I can't keep doing this." And so he went to rehab, and he went to sober living afterwards, and I still ran for another 6 months. I tore down my life the fastest in this last 6 months before stopping than I ever had. It went so quickly downhill, burned so many bridges. I got on all the gambling apps. I would go to the trap houses, and I'm like, I will pay you. Like, we're going to set up a Chime account for you. Like, I will do all the betting. Like, we're just going to split this money. And like, it was insane. I don't know. So I went to treatment. So from February to April of 2024, I went to treatment like 4 separate times. Now that first 4 months that him and I were sober, when we first met each other, like I got enrolled in school. I went back. I was going to college for the first time. I was on the dean's list. I made a National Honor Society. Like I was like, I'm going to be a social worker. This is what I'm going to do.
Okay.
So after I'm still using, school money's nice. So loans and grants, you take that out, it's a nice little chunk of change. So was still going to school while I was in active addiction. So 2 months before I actually got clean, I went to rehab like 4 times, and I would go for 3 days, and I'm like, hey, I got to go. Like, I got papers that are due. Like, I'm good. Like, I left 3 treatment facilities telling them, like, no, look, it's finals week. I got to go. Like, I have to leave because I have to do this school stuff, but, like, still clearly not in my right mind. So my boyfriend at the time was volunteering at the Hope Resource Center. He was in sober living, and he would go there and pick up trash and make peanut butter and jelly sandwiches and sack lunches.
Batteries.
So Scott's volunteering at the Hope Resource Center. Now, we're still talking. Like, he doesn't give me money or anything like that. Like, while I'm getting high, he's just, but he's always still checking on me, making sure I'm okay. But he's also distanced himself at this point because I'm still out running, getting high, and, he's trying to be sober. So he develops relationships with the people that are at the Hope Resource Center and that are working there. And he makes me call this girl named Brittany. And he's like, look, she's going to school to be a social worker just like you. And like, she's been sober for a couple years. And I'm like, stop trying to make friends for me. So I call her, and I'm like, I'm only calling you because he told me to call you. And so like we talk for a few minutes or whatever. And then he, maybe like a week later or so, he invites me to come to, they have a meeting called the Hope Gathering. And so I go, and I'm high, and I'm smoking crack in the bathroom. And I brought Suboxone with me because I'm like, I can't have my pupils be, as big as my eyeballs. So I'm like, I need something to like even them out. So that's how I'm thinking. Like, I'm going to take some Suboxones that would make them real small, but still smoke my crack. And then I'm nodding out, and then I'm wired. So I'm like all over the place during this meeting. And I remember afterwards, they used to have this like small group discussion. So the lady that I ended up asking to like be my sponsor,
She's actually now the associate director of the Hope Dealer community. I remember going up to her and I'm talking to her and I'm like, you have any good book recommendations? And I'm like so high, and they all know that I'm so high.
Of course.
And they're like, just keep coming back. And she talks to me about what good books that she thinks that would be good for me to read. And so I go to that meeting twice, and Scott's like still trying to encourage me to like get out and be around community and like try different things. So he's still taking me to church. We were going to Rock City Church, and I can remember there was a sermon about wrestling with God and about toxic relationships. And I'm like half nodded out in the back of the sanctuary, and I'm like, he's talking about me. I'm the dead weight, and this is a toxic relationship, and I'm the dead weight, and he's telling you to leave me. And he's like, that's not what he's saying. So he still continues to try. He's still getting me to go to these meetings with him.
Good for him.
And we go to church one Sunday, and like, I remember like going in and like we're doing worship and they're singing the song "The Blessing," and I just felt like this weight lifted off of me, and I just like started bawling, and I was like, if I could just sleep in the back of the sanctuary, like I'll be okay. Like I'll stay here and I'll stay sober and I'll be good, and I won't need to go to treatment and all this. And I remember going out after service, and I met a lady that was out there on the prayer team, and I like told her I just got saved and like I was struggling with drugs and alcohol. And she prayed for me. And I remember her telling me that, like as she was praying, she was like, and just remind her that if she does fall, that you're still going to be here, God, to pick her up. And it was almost like it was a escape for me. I saw crack at home. So I went home and still smoked crack after I got saved.
Damn.
But I couldn't get high. And so for 2 weeks I tried to get high and I couldn't. And I was finally like, all right,
why?
Maybe
why
this is.
Why do you think?
I think
one
that was
of those interventions.
I think that was God doing something for me, because maybe I was going to still keep going.
Yeah.
There was a point in time, like after I'd met Scott, where we were clean, and then and then we relapsed. I overdosed. Like the last couple of years, it was like crack was my drug of choice. So I hadn't used fentanyl since that time that we went to Recovery Works, and I remember like I went to my dealer's house, and like sometimes he'd let me clean or take the dogs out or whatever, like if I didn't have money. So he's like, oh, your stuff's like, bring me my scales and stuff and I'll get your stuff for you or whatever. So I bring him his scales that are closed, and I put them on the table and I give him the crack, and he weighs it out for me. So I'm getting ready to leave, and he's like, stuff's on the scales. So I'm like, okay. So I brought the scales. They were closed when I gave them to him. So in the lid, there's a little tiny piece. So I just assumed that it's crack. And so I'm like, oh, that's mine too. So, dump it in the bag. It was fentanyl, and I had overdosed. So I was staying at my mom's at the time.
Oh my God.
My daughter, she was 12 at the time. They never came downstairs. Like, my mom knew what I was doing. So my mom would be like, just leave your mom alone.
So did you load this piece into a fucking crack pipe and rip it?
Yep. And I remember like as soon as I got unhidden, I was like,
God.
oh shit, that's not crack. And I knew right away what happened. And so, like, I sat down, and then I was like, no, I can't sit down because nobody ever comes downstairs. So, I tried to get up, and I fell face down. I woke up to 6 paramedics.
That had to have been a lot of F3tty.
Yeah. My daughter's the one that found me. So, my mom had sent her downstairs in the basement to get me because, for whatever reason, this is God saving my life, because they never came down there. So she's got a lot of trauma to work through that I have caused. Woke up to 6 paramedics, and I'm like, what happened? And they're like, ma'am, you overdosed. And I'm like, on what? I was smoking crack. Like, what did I overdose on? And it was crazy because that night I had 2 bags, and I always usually keep my stuff in separate bags. Like, if I get something from one person and get something else from a different person, there was like a bunch of crap that was going around at the time. So I had 2 different kinds. And I remember when the paramedics left, they asked me if I wanted to go to, they were like, listen, they were like, we don't know how much fentanyl that you've ingested. Once the Narcan wears off, it's possible you could re-overdose. Like, you should come to the hospital and be monitored. I'm like, I'm not going to the hospital. And I'm like telling my mom, I don't want anything to do with any of it anymore. And then I'm like, where's my crack pipe that was downstairs? Where's my stuff that was down there? And they're like, oh, it's behind the washer. My stepdad hid it because he didn't want to get arrested because I had drugs in the house. And so they gave it right back to me. And that same night, I got a new pipe, but I smoked the same fucking crack because for whatever reason, I had cut the corners off of both of the bags. And so they both looked the same. So I thought I was smoking the other stuff, but I wasn't. I turned around and smoked the same stuff I had just OD'd on. So
I think it's really like God was doing for me. Like when I couldn't get high for those 2 weeks, like he was saving me. So, so I tried for 2 weeks after I got saved, and I was like, all right, I'm done.
You just got an OD out of it.
Yeah. I remember saying like, so I'm familiar with a lot of treatment facilities. Like I know where I can go and make phone calls and where I can go and have visits or whatever. And I was like, you know what? Like instead of me trying to manipulate the situation, I'm like, I'm just going to let you send me wherever you want to send me. And so I called Brittany, that girl that he had made me talk to from the Hope Resource Center. And I was like, I'm ready to go to treatment. And she's like, great, I can have a car there for you in 10 minutes. And I was like, whoa, not that ready. Like, hold on. Like, so this is a Saturday. And I'm like, I want to talk. Like, I had just made the decision. I'm going. Yeah. I'm like, I want to talk to Scott, who was at work. And I was like, I need time. And so she was like, well, call me back when you're ready. And so we ended up scheduling the ride for like 8:00 that night. So I take a bus down. I go see Scott. He was working at the Home Depot at the time. And I'm like, hey, I think I'm ready to go to treatment. I'm like, I want to know how you feel about this. Like, are you going to still talk to me? Or are you going to still be here to support me? And he agreed. And I was like, I really want to go to church tomorrow. And I was like, I know I scheduled this ride for tonight, but I really want to go to church tomorrow. Like, maybe I said something wrong in that prayer 2 weeks ago. Like, I want to recommit myself to, because whatever just happened, something happened. God did something because I couldn't get high. So I was like, he did something. I'm like, I really want to go to church. And so Scott and Brittany were talking and they were making jokes about how it doesn't count because I wasn't actually in the car yet. And now I'm just saying next day. But, now that I work for the Hope Resource Center, I understand that because so many people are like, I'll go tomorrow. I'll go tomorrow. Tomorrow's the day. And so I got up the next morning and I went to church and I called and I scheduled. I said, I'll take the first available time that you guys can come pick me up. So they scheduled it for it was 2:30 or something. I got up, I went to church, I recommitted myself and I went to treatment and I got to Landmark in Cleveland and I was like, this is worse than prison. It's a Medicaid facility. So it's not the nicest.
Oh God.
And people.
That's what I was.
People is the problem.
That's what I was gonna say. Had to be the people.
And so it was funny because there was a couple of girls that I didn't get along with. But man, I seen God work so much. And I was only there for 23 days because they did end up letting me out because it was finals week. I was trying to actually work something out with my professors where I could withdraw or something from class so that I wasn't completely screwed in my grades, which didn't end up happening. But I met, at the time, there was probably 6 or 7 girls that were there that when they asked me, who sent you to treatment? Did you just call here? Because, I'm from Columbus. We're all the way in Cleveland. And a couple of the girls on my roommates were like, the Hope Resource Center sent me. And I was like, yeah, that's who sent me too. And I had never had an experience with the drop-in center or any of that stuff. I just talked to this girl on the phone and met them at this meeting that they have. But I ended up becoming really good friends with one of the girls that was from the drop-in center that used to frequent it, Monday, Wednesday, Friday when they were open. And we still talk to this day. She's got 4 days more sober than I do. She just had a baby. She stayed in Cleveland because she's like, I gotta stay away from Columbus. Yeah. And so I was only there 23 days. Came back home, went back to my mom's house. I was insistent that I didn't need a program. I didn't need anything. I had traumatized my oldest daughter so much with what happened with the overdose and me relapsing that I had blamed it on Scott, the guy that I was with. And so my daughter was like, I don't want nothing to do with him. I don't want to see him. She just turned 18. So then she was 17 and she's like, I don't want him around here. And I had snuck him in the house, my mom's, and my daughter came downstairs in the basement and seen us. So was really upset. My mom threw me out of the house and I had a month and a half sober, nowhere to go. And I remember we were walking to the bus stop because I had upset my daughter again. And I'm sober. I want it to be different. I'm walking to the bus stop. I got an email from the Columbus Dream Center, which is where Rock City's Short North campus is. Yep. I got an email asking for volunteers for that night. There were shorthanded volunteers. And I was like, I guess this is where I'm going because I didn't have anywhere to go. Yeah. So I went down and volunteered for their dinner shift that they had. Scott ended up putting me in a hotel for about a week. I reached out there was a girl when I was in treatment that had said something about Freedom Recovery. And so I reached out to them to see if they had housing with their treatment programs. and they didn't, but they said that they could help me find a place, like a sober living place, maybe like a pay to stay place that I could stay in and still come to groups there, because I was interested in the fact that it was Christian based.
Yeah.
Even though this was like all so brand new to me, I was just like all in full fledged, like, okay, well, whatever you did, God, okay, this is the path that I need to go on.
Sure.
And so stayed in the hotel, went to a birthday party that Alyssa, who's the associate director now, and Scott Sanders, the executive director for the Hope Dealers, was there. And I was talking to them about, I have this appointment at Freedom Recovery. I want to find a pay to stay place. They were able to get me into a pay to stay sober living that night. So was able to get out of the hotel, went to Freedom Recovery and stayed there and did IOP through them.
And at this point, you're taking everything seriously,
Yeah.
I assume. Like, you're soaking up as much as you can.
I am. I feel like I'm trying to stay in the moment as much as I can because I feel like God has had so many opportunities for me. And because I didn't know what to do with my time, and I was only in group 3 days a week, like I was volunteering at the Hope Resource Center. And I would go in and I would listen to sermons in the back room, and I would make peanut butter jelly sandwiches and put together sack lunches. It had been suggested many times for me to get a sponsor, and so I asked Alyssa to be my sponsor. I was going to Celebrate Recovery meetings, and I worked the 12 steps through Celebrate Recovery. I built a community of people around me, and like the people at the Hope Resource Center, even the ones that were using, we don't want to live in this lifestyle. Like, it sucks.
Yeah.
But some of them, it's hard for them to see a way out. So like even being there and just, being that person that'll come up and give you a hug. Like, we know you haven't showered in 2 weeks, and we know that like you're dope sick right now and you feel terrible, but like being around people like that, it's like, it's a real easy reminder of where I came from.
Yep.
Like where I could go back to.
Yep.
That it only takes,
once.
And it took me a long time to understand that meant one drink too.
I didn't know Celebrate Recovery did a 12-step program.
Yeah.
Is it just particular ones, or is it across the board?
No, Celebrate Recovery is the 12-step program.
Okay, I didn't know that.
So it's like the way that I would introduce myself there is like, my name is Ashley and I'm a believer in Jesus.
I'd been to one, and I went... I'd been to one, my neighbor was Christian, and I was still getting high, and she was like, you got to come to this thing.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, God fucking damn it, I want to go to this stupid bullshit. Because I didn't believe in God at all.
Yep.
In fact, I hated God.
Yep.
Just because. And so I went to this thing, and I remember I argued with the entire group about how I don't need Jesus for my recovery, period. Fuck you. Blah, 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 for like the entire hour. Like, just it was all centered around me because I was still fucked up. They could tell, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that was my only experience with Celebrate Recovery. So glad it worked for you.
Yeah. Well, I had, so Freedom Recovery, like their first group, like their first night group, every month, like they go to a Celebrate Recovery meeting.
Okay.
And so I was like, all right, well, let me try that. And I had went to, a one up at Cypress before too. And I think that like when I had that experience with God, like it was a whole different shift in perspective. And it was like, I want to be deeper in this because like the Celebrate Recovery 12 steps they ask you to go a little bit deeper. It's a different kind of working the steps. There are like 4 workbooks that come with it.
Okay.
And so like I'm going back now and working the 12 steps with AA. Because like I said, for a long time, it was like, drinking is not a problem for me. I can put drinking down. Like, yeah, I could put drinking down, but I pick up crack or I pick up fentanyl or pain pills.
It's just one solution
Yeah.
for the same disease.
Yeah.
It's the same thing, yeah.
So I don't know. Like Celebrate Recovery kind of hit home. I was trying to build, like, I felt like God was telling me that I needed like a network of people. Like when I was a counselor before in the sober living facility, like I didn't have a group of people. I didn't go to meetings. I didn't really
You're also
talk
were
to
smoking
anybody.
crack in the bathroom.
Well, for the little bit of time that I was
So-
clean. But like I didn't really have community. I didn't really have a place that I felt like I belonged. Church was one of those places that I felt like I belonged. Like I look forward.
Fit in.
Yeah, I look forward to going to church. I just joined a mom's small group that's going to meet, twice a month. And my kids are involved in it. Like my boyfriend and I got baptized shortly after I got home from rehab. I went and got baptized together. My youngest daughter has since been baptized. My son, I don't think he's quite there yet, but he wants to be baptized. But I built a community of people like in Celebrate Recovery, and then like at the Hope Dealers, and in the different meetings that I'm going to. We just started a new group called Hope Inside, so we're going inside the jails now, kind of like sharing our story, and it's like talking to people about like, I never really paid any kind of attention to anybody in jail. I never really went to groups. Like, I didn't want to hear what anybody else had to say. Like, I thought I knew what the solution was. But maybe if somebody had been there and been like, I've been in your shoes and I know what it's like. And if you go back out and you go back to the same neighborhood, no matter how good your intention is, you're probably going to fail if you don't do something different. And so, like, to offer them community when they get out, or if they need a program, like to help get them connected to a program when they get out. I very much take what I have now seriously, because life is so much better. Even on the hard days, life is so much better than it ever was using. I'm grateful I get to be a part of so many different things. Like the Hope Dealer community is an amazing recovery community. My church gets to do amazing things that I get to go out and do with them. I just dropped my oldest daughter off at college today. It was her first day of college classes.
Amazing.
And so, like, I'm really, truly blessed, and, like, I owe that all to God. And I'm like, okay, so I didn't just go through 20 years of craziness and drug addiction and not to do something with it. And so I feel like where I fit in best is talking to other people who are on that journey, who are trying to get out of it. Like, okay, this is what works for me, and how can I support you in whatever way works for you?
And it keeps you sober at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a level of accountability that I have. Like, I do the transportation for our Hope Gathering meeting, which is like 70 people on my list that I try to arrange transportation to get there.
You gotta have nights where you're like, I don't want to do this. Please, not tonight. But then you do it, and you feel better.
Yeah. It gets like that sometimes. I'm actually getting to a point where I've been able to free up some time in my schedule. And now, like, today was an amazing day. Like, this is the first time, like, I got to drop both my kids off at school. Well, actually, all three of my kids off at school. So I dropped my middle daughter off first at the Columbus Gifted Academy, and then I dropped my son off at Westbrook Elementary, and then I get to drop my daughter off in college. And I have the free time to come here and sit and talk to you today because, like, my job allows me to do those things, and they let me take things that are important to me, and, like, I have time to be able to work around what I need to do for work. Like, I'm very grateful for the opportunity that I was given there. I just went on vacation multiple times this year. Like, went to Charleston in April and seen Joyce Myers.
I went to Charleston.
Did you?
It might have been in April, actually, as well. Charleston's awesome.
Yeah.
And that feel crazy,
Yeah.
like being able to take a vacation.
I
have moments mostly when I travel or I'm going to do something that I have no business doing, because I should be dead, where I'll just be sitting there and I'll look down at my feet and I'll just be like, how the fuck are your feet there? Like, why are they on this airplane? How is that possible? Like, It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable.
I had my daughter turned 18 in July, and I wanted to take her to go do something, because a couple years prior to that, when I was I was getting school money, I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to take you to New York for your birthday. But, when you're using, all that money was gone real quick.
Yeah, real quick.
So we made plans to go to Virginia Beach, because she had never been there. So we made plans to go to Virginia Beach for her birthday the week after. So her birthday was July 18th. We were going to go the following weekend. And then we had a girls' trip. There's a few of us that work together. Like, Mary works for the Hope Resource Center, Alyssa, me, and then Destiny and Christina decided we were going to go on a girls' trip, and we had somebody offer to let us use their house. It was one of Alyssa's friends offered to let us use their house to have a vacation, and it's like 30 minutes south of Myrtle Beach. And so the plan was to go in August, but then last minute we had to change the plans because somebody else, like their son or somebody, was using the house. And so I literally went to Virginia Beach, left on a Thursday, came back Monday night, turned around and left again on Thursday to go to Pawleys Island in South Carolina. Like, wow. So I was like back-to-back vacations. And I'm like, cool. How is this? This is so crazy that I get to do this.
Real?
How do I even have the money to do this? Like, this is so insane that I get to do something like this. And it's just, but those are things like God keeps doing amazing things in my life, and I'm so grateful. So I just try to follow whatever it is that he tells me to do.
The
So.
prison thing you're doing.
Yeah.
First time doing prisons or institutions, or have you done them in the past?
Nope, it's first time. So it's the new Franklin County Jail.
Oh.
Yeah, it's actually really nice there.
Yeah,
The
so I've
Rapid
heard.
Resource Center. Like when you walk
Yeah.
out the doors, they'll get you a cab to go wherever you want to go now. I'm like, what? Like,
Really?
yeah. I know the lady that's overhead of both of that one and the one at the Pike. They'll help people get right into treatment, get on the Vivitrol shot before you leave
It's
jail.
like my favorite thing to do is to go into institutions
Yeah.
and speak. I've done Pickaway and then CBCF I did for 8 years.
Wow.
Every Tuesday I'd go in there. I think I missed a couple of days here and there until the end when we started doing this, and then I had to drop it off, and I do this now.
Yeah.
But God, I love going into institutions and speaking to guys that were inmates just like me, and
Yeah.
trying to tell them, like, guys, there's a different way. I know you think you're fucked. I know you do, because
Yeah.
I know I thought I was fucked, but you're not. I promise. Like, you're not. And to deliver that message you're going to love it. It's so fun. It's
Yep.
so much fun.
I just had my first week last Thursday, so I'm going in every Thursday, meet with the same group of ladies for 4 weeks, and then rotate it.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's exciting.
If you had a message that you could deliver to somebody still struggling, or on the brink, or thinking about it, or what would it be for our viewers?
There's hope. There's community. People love you.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for coming out.
Thanks for
It
inviting
means
me.
a lot, seriously.
Yeah.
And have a good rest of your day.
You as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.